Hey yo, what's up? Patrouski here for another ramble type video. So this is actually something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, and it's a good way to express the way PokeMMO does updates, and I've talked about this a lot on stream. But I've been comparing PokeMMO a lot recently to something like WoW Classic or World of Warcraft Classic. So what I mean by that is that the updates and the regions added, the regions specifically, are very similar. Where, for those that don't know, PokeMMO's been out for 10 years now, and there's around 4 regions in the game, but we're coming up on a 5th. So they have added a new region to PokeMMO consistently every 2 to 3 years for a decade. So it's a pretty consistent pattern we see going on, you know? Fire Red was the first one, obviously the base game released in 2012, and then I think Emerald came out in, I want to say 2014 or maybe 2015. Let's say 2014 or 15. And then Black and White came out in 2017, and then I think Sinnoh was 2019. I could be wrong on those dates, but it's pretty close. And now it looks like Johto is going to be coming out either late 2022 or early 2023. So we're on the same path, right? And I think a lot of players, a lot of newer players specifically, feel this frustration of why isn't Johto in the game yet? Why isn't Kalos in the game yet? Why isn't Gen 7 in the game? Why not Gen 8? They're coming into this game and being like, why isn't every region in the game yet? No, the traditional regions are out, in traditional Pokemon and Nintendo. If you play a Nintendo Pokemon game, obviously up to Gen 8 is out. Why aren't they out? It's the same thing as playing classic WoW, in my opinion. And you guys can disagree. Let me know in the comments down below, but let me explain a little bit more. It's the same thing, where essentially the Pokemon player base is reliving the launch of all these Pokemon games every 2 to 3 years. With Classic WoW, for those who don't know, there is essentially an update schedule. Essentially, obviously they could just update the game whenever, but Classic WoW essentially was dropped because people didn't like the current state of World of Warcraft, and they wanted to re-release it and control it better updates, change a little bit, but also enjoy aspects of the older games and have a really fun time and basically relive the launches. If you didn't play, TBC back in the day, reliving that launch is a really cool experience. And a lot of those same aspects happen in PokeMMO, where we relived the launch of Pokemon Emerald. A huge one in the new Pokemon coming into play, a huge one was reliving the launch of the special physical split in Pokemon. For those who don't know, I believe it was Gen 4. Prior to Gen 4, every single move just had what it was special or physical based on the typing of the move. So for example, things like any sort of electric move was always just special. Any sort of ground move was always physical. But then in 4th generation, they balanced it so that so every single move had a different, each move had its individual special or physical typing, right? So nowadays we have Earthquake is a physical move, but Earth Power is a special move. Things like that. We're allowed to have mixed Pokemon in a lot better ways, if that makes sense. Back in the day, prior to the physical special split, there was something called E-Punch Alakazam, or Elemental Punch Alakazam, which was essentially an Alakazam with Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, and Psychic. And it was incredible coverage and incredibly powerful because all of those elemental punches acted as special attacks back in the day, as opposed to obviously being physical nowadays, because they're punches. It makes a lot more sense. But it's really interesting to relive and re-experience these sorts of Pokemon history with a new age audience and with your friends, and now we understand the game a lot more. And I think new players come in and they want to be able to play and have access to all of the the new Pokemon and all the new regions. They want to have access to all of the tools available, and I understand that. I totally do, but I think there is a level of patience involved in PokeMMO. PokeMMO is an MMO, and I think MMO players out there understand the value of patience, but some Pokemon players do and some Pokemon players don't. I think shiny hunters obviously understand the value of patience. Competitive players might understand, half of them maybe do, but I'd say a lot of casual Pokemon players might not want to be patient, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're coming to PokeMMO, you have to understand that it is an MMO. It's not just a Pokemon game. There's going to be a lot of patience, a lot of grinding, a lot of history, a lot of reliving things, and I think it's really important to understand the goal of PokeMMO. The devs haven't come out and ever talked about aiming for this sort of reliving experience launch. Like they've never talked about this, but I think it's in my opinion, obviously you can disagree in the comments down below. Once again, feel free to disagree with everything. But in my opinion, I think it's pretty clear how the way they've done it. You know, the track that they've been on, the way that they have slowly released a new region every 2 to 3 years, like pretty consistently for a decade. It's such a consistent thing to look at. It's not like I'm looking at like, oh, like they've released 2 regions and they were each 2 years apart. Like no, like they're on the brink of releasing 5 regions 2 to 3 years apart. Like it's so consistent, and I think it's just a really telltale sign of PokeMMO and a really telltale sign of the player base, and it's kind of how the game develops and how the game plays, and I think it's just really important to keep that in mind. If you're a new player coming to PokeMMO, please don't, you know, spam the devs. Please don't expect all this new content right away. PokeMMO is not the developer's main job, for one thing. It's a side project, but I think it's a side project that they manage beautifully, and I think it's a side project that they have certain goals in mind for, and I think one of those certain goals in mind might be, you know, that slow overall release of all the regions, reliving through them all and experiencing it very similar to classic WoW. I think in a perfect world, we would have that same like release schedule the way that Blizzard has for classic WoW. That would be pretty interesting, but I don't think they're ever going to have that as long as it's not their main, as long as PokeMMO isn't their main job / main priority. But it's an interesting thing to think about. PokeMMO is essentially classic WoW, but without that release schedule. It's classic WoW with a lot more uncertainty, which is understandably a little frustrating. But I think the point of this video was just to give a little more understanding to those newer players and give a little more backstory and information, and give them like the reasonings, right? Like I understand the frustrations, because like if no one's taught you or no one's told you, like why would you understand, right? But I think the biggest reasoning is just reliving those experiences and the pacing that they're aiming for. I do believe that the PokeMMO devs are aiming for a certain pacing with their game, not only with the, you know, the in-game balancing with shiny hunting. They do a really great job at that, but like specifically with the pacing of the updates, I think they have a specific goal in mind. But I think I've rambled enough for this video. If you guys have any questions, if I've explained anything poorly, let me know in the comments down below. If you disagree, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for future PokeMMO content. I upload 2 pieces of PokeMMO content every single day. And then make sure to check out the Discord link if you want to join that and have more conversations like this. And then if you want to go above and beyond and support the channel, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for $5 a month, dropping a Twitch Prime or a Twitch sub over my Twitch, or taking my Patreon, Venmo, or what's the other one? There's something else. Patreon, Venmo, or PayPal. Linked all down below. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. See you guys later. Peace.